My daughter left me to rot in a nursing home. On my birthday, she smiled the whole way there. Amanda always had this fake smile, tight lips, wide eyes, like she was performing kindness. I should have seen it coming. I had felt it for months, that slow shift in how she looked at me. Less like a daughter looks at her mother, more like someone staring at an old couch they didn't know where to put. "It's temporary, Mom," she said, hands folded neatly over her purse. "Just until we figure out the best long-term solution." That was the word she kept using. Solution. Like I was a problem. Not a person. Not the woman who raised her alone after her father walked out. Not the woman who skipped meals to afford her braces. I was a situation to be handled. Quietly, cleanly, out of sight. Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. The place wasn't awful, at least not at first glance. The walls were beige, the hallways wide, and everything smelled like hand sanitizer and canned peaches. There were bulletin boards full of activities, photos of smiling seniors in Halloween costumes, faded coloring sheets. They gave me a room with a window that faced a brick wall. I remember standing there, suitcase in hand, while Amanda chatted with the nurse at the desk. "She has mild hypertension and a knee that sometimes locks, but otherwise she's fine," Amanda said, like she was describing a used car. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to make a scene. I just sat down on the bed, stared at my hands, and tried to breathe. The nurse came in a few minutes later, asked me if I had any questions, then smiled and walked out. Amanda followed right behind her. She didn't even look back. That was the last time I saw her for weeks. The first night was the worst. I didn't sleep. I sat up in the bed listening to the sounds of people coughing, nurses walking up and down the hallway, televisions left on too loud in other rooms. I missed my kitchen, the way it smelled like lemon soap in the mornings. I missed the squeak of my old recliner. I missed silence, the kind that felt like peace, not punishment. The other women were kind. Mrs. Walker down the hall lent me an extra pillow. Elaine, 2 rooms over, brought me a little bag of butterscotch candies. "We all came here the same way," she whispered. "Don't let it eat you alive." That phrase stuck with me. Don't let it eat you alive. 2 weeks passed. Amanda didn't call. I asked one of the aides if she'd tried. "Let me check," she said, but I never heard back. One morning, I asked to use the phone. They said I could call my daughter after breakfast. I waited. I left a message. She never picked up. Eventually, the receptionist told me Amanda had changed the emergency contact number to a lawyer. "A lawyer?" I asked. "Yes, ma'am. All decisions are being processed through her legal representative now." Just like that, I had no rights, no voice, no keys, no house. Days blended into each other. Breakfast at 7, lunch at noon, dinner at 5. Pills in. Little cups. A blood pressure monitor every morning. The nurse told me my blood pressure was high. No surprise there. They started me on something new. I nodded, said thank you, took it without complaint. I kept thinking it would turn around, that Amanda would show up, that this was all a big misunderstanding. Maybe she just needed space. Maybe she was overwhelmed. I made excuses for her. That's what mothers do, even when it hurts, even when the truth is standing right in front of you, holding your purse, and walking away. The staff called it adjusting. I called it being erased. One afternoon, I asked if I could retrieve a few personal items from my house. A sweater, some photo albums, maybe my old recipe box. The social worker looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry," she said. "Your house has been sold." I stared at her. "No, that's not possible. That's my home." She checked her tablet. "It was sold last week. The paperwork was finalized. It's not uncommon. Children sometimes take over estate matters for elderly parents." "My estate?" I asked. "It's just a term," she said quickly. "I'm sure your daughter had your best interest in mind." I nodded. I didn't say another word that day. I went back to my room, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed until dinner. I didn't eat. Later that night, I asked the night nurse if she could bring me a cup of tea. She did. Her name was Celia. She was new, young, maybe in her early 20s, with soft brown curls and kind eyes. "You okay, Miss Eleanor?" she asked. I nodded, even though I wasn't. She placed the tea on the nightstand. "You know," she said softly, "if you ever need help with anything, paperwork, calls, anything like that, I'm good with that stuff." I looked at her. I hadn't heard anyone say my name with kindness in weeks. I didn't cry, but my throat tightened. "Thank you, Celia." That night, I opened the drawer on my nightstand. Just to feel like I was doing something, I started clearing out the old papers and outdated magazines they left there. And that's when I saw it. A folded lottery ticket tucked beneath a crossword puzzle book. I remembered it instantly. I had bought it a week before Amanda brought me here. I used to play every Saturday. Nothing serious, just a habit. I don't even know why I brought it with me. I unfolded it, smoothed the edges, and stared at the numbers. I had no idea if it was worth anything, but it gave me a reason to get up the next morning. Celia helped me check the numbers on her phone during her break. She covered her mouth and gasped. "You won," she whispered. "Miss Eleanor, you actually won." I didn't understand. "How much?" She looked again. $40 million. For a moment, I thought she was joking, but she wasn't. Sat back in my chair and stared at the wall. Same gray paint, same ticking clock. Everything looked exactly the same, but something had changed. I didn't tell anyone else. Not yet. I had no plan. I had no idea what came next, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to rot here. The day after Celia told me I had won the lottery, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. I didn't jump up and celebrate. I didn't laugh or cry. I sat in the common room at 10 a.m. like I did every morning, pretending to read the same magazine I had already flipped through 3 times. I nodded at Mrs. Walker. I accepted a Werther's original from Elaine. I even answered fine when someone asked how I was doing, but inside, I was turning every detail over in my mind. I had $40 million, and no one could know, especially not Amanda. That afternoon, when Celia came in to check my blood pressure, I asked her if she could stay a little longer. "Don't want to make you get in trouble," I said. She pulled the little stool closer. "I have 5 minutes. What's on your mind?" I looked at her carefully. She hadn't told anyone. I knew that because if she had, this place would have erupted. There would have been phone calls, administrators stopping by, someone pretending to care more than usual. But the silence told me she kept it between us. "I need a lawyer," I said quietly. Her eyes widened just a little. "Do you have someone in mind?" "No. But someone who doesn't know my daughter. Someone who won't ask too many questions. And someone who can come here without drawing attention." She nodded slowly. "I think I know someone. My cousin's girlfriend works with seniors, helps with estate transitions. She's discreet." "I don't want Amanda to know," I said, firm now. "She can't know. Not yet." "I understand." Celia wrote a name on a sticky note and folded it twice before handing it to me. "Her name is Tasha Conrad. I'll call her tonight." That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because my mind wouldn't stop. I kept thinking about everything Amanda had taken from me. My house, my car, my things, my life. And I thought about all the times I'd made excuses for her. All the ways I told myself it was okay because she was stressed or busy or trying her best. I thought about the look in her eyes when she dropped me off here. It wasn't guilt. It was relief. Tasha arrived 3 days later, dressed like someone who wanted to blend in. Plain gray sweater, no makeup, low heels. She introduced herself at the front desk as a family counselor. I watched from my room as she signed in with the receptionist. No one looked twice. She walked in and smiled politely. "Miss Eleanor, I'm Tasha. May I sit?" I nodded. "I understand you might need help with some financial matters." Celia must have explained something to her, but not everything. That was fine. I didn't need anyone knowing more than they should. I have a lottery ticket, I said. It's real. I checked it myself. My nurse verified it. I need to know how to claim it without it being traced directly back to me. And I want to know how to protect the money from my daughter. Tasha didn't flinch. That was the first sign she was good at what she did. Do you have a copy of the ticket? I have the original, I said, reaching into the zipper pocket of my robe. I had kept it with me at all times, even while I slept. She took it and examined it closely. I'll need to validate this with the lottery office, but assuming it's a match, we have several options. We can create a blind trust. We can set up a financial entity with you as the beneficiary but not named publicly. It will take a few weeks, but we can do it cleanly. Good, I said. And no one in this building can know. I understand, she said again. This happens more often than people realize. I didn't ask for stories. I didn't want to hear about other people's drama. I had enough of my own. We made a plan. Tasha would initiate the legal structure and contact the lottery commission directly. She would return once the trust was confirmed and the funds had been deposited. Until then, I would keep quiet. She said she would need identification. I gave her what I had, my expired driver's license and my social security card, which Amanda hadn't managed to lose in the move. The next 2 weeks passed slowly. I played bingo. I ate the same bland food. I listened to the nurses talk about their weekends. I smiled at people and went along with everything. But inside, I was watching, listening. I heard a conversation between the facility director and the administrator in the hallway. Her daughter said she won't be visiting anymore. She's got too much going on. Something about a new house in Georgia. She said she was taking over full control of the mother's estate. That woman barely speaks to her. What estate could be left? They laughed. I didn't. I was sitting 4 feet away. 3 days later, Tasha came back. She wore a black coat and sunglasses, and didn't take them off until she was in my room. Congratulations, she said. Everything's confirmed. The funds were deposited into the trust this morning. I felt nothing at first, just this odd calm. It's done? It's done. You're officially in control. No one can touch the money unless you authorize it. I nodded. And the house? Which house? My old one. I want it back. She paused. Your daughter sold it to a private buyer. I don't care. Find it. Make an offer. I can do that. What about the care facility? I asked. Who owns it? An investor group. I want to own it. She stared at me. Miss Eleanor, why would you want that? I have my reasons. Tasha nodded slowly, then smiled. I can make that happen. The next steps moved. Fast. Tasha coordinated everything through a private consulting firm she worked with. She used shell entities, escrow accounts, legal paperwork I barely understood, but I didn't need to understand. I just needed results. Within 10 days, she told me the offer on the care facility had been accepted, pending final paperwork. The board wouldn't know the new owner for another 2 weeks. I need you to promise me something, I said to her before she left. What's that? If Amanda comes here, if she tries to talk to anyone, I want to know. You'll be notified immediately. Good. Because I have no plans to see her until the day I'm ready. The thing about having money is that it doesn't fix everything. It doesn't make the grief go away. It doesn't undo betrayal. But it does give you options. And after months of feeling like a prisoner in my own life, I finally had one thing I hadn't had in years: control. Once the money was in the trust and the paperwork started moving, everything around me slowed down again. The building still smelled like disinfectant and canned green beans. The nurses still repeated the same phrases every shift. How are we feeling today, Eleanor? You going to join the chair yoga group? Most days I did, just to keep things normal. I didn't want anyone asking questions. I didn't want to draw attention to myself. Tasha told me that the final sale of the care facility would close in about 2 weeks. Until then, I needed to keep acting like nothing had changed. That was harder than I thought. I didn't feel like a millionaire. I still ate oatmeal at 7 a.m., still lined up for blood pressure checks, still watched reruns on the community room TV. But something had shifted internally. I no longer felt helpless. One afternoon, Celia knocked quietly on my door. "They're setting up a new admissions area by the front desk," she said. "Looks like they're preparing for a site inspection or maybe new ownership. Any chance that's connected to you?" I nodded once. "The board approved the sale. The paperwork's being finalized this week." Her eyes widened. "So you're really doing it? You're going to own this place?" "I don't want it for me," I said. "But I want the people here to stop being treated like they're disposable." Celia pulled the door closed behind her and sat down. "What happens next?" I didn't answer right away. I had thought about that question every day since Tasha confirmed the trust had gone through. I didn't want to just leave quietly. I didn't want to write a check and disappear. I wanted to take back what had been taken from me. Every decision made without me, every visit Amanda skipped, every excuse she gave to justify it. "I want her to know," I said finally. "Not right now, but eventually. I want her to see what she gave up, and I want her to feel it." "I think she will," Celia said softly. The next morning, I received a letter. It was left at the front desk, and one of the aides brought it to my room during breakfast. I opened it slowly, recognizing Amanda's handwriting on the envelope. "Eleanor, I hope you're adjusting well. I've had a lot going on lately. Things with Brian have been up and down, and we just started renovations on the new house. I didn't want to stress you with all the details, but I wanted to let you know that we're working with an attorney to make sure all the financial matters are settled properly. Since we sold the house and finalized the transfer of your bank accounts, we'll be coordinating everything through legal channels from now on. I know this change has been hard for you, but please understand I did what I thought was best. The staff tells me you've been doing okay, which is a relief. I won't be able to visit this month, but maybe next time I can bring the kids. Take care, Amanda." No apology. No acknowledgement of what she had done. Just another round of careful wording and avoidance. She didn't even sign it. Love. I put the letter back in the envelope and slid it into my nightstand drawer. I didn't need to respond. She would learn the truth soon enough. Later that week, Tasha returned with updated documents. The care facility had officially transferred to the trust under my name. I now owned the building, the property, and everything that came with it, including the authority to replace management. "We're going to move carefully," she said. "We'll keep the staff that's doing their jobs well, but the director and administration team, you'll need to decide how to handle them." "I've already decided," I said. "They can go." The transition started quietly. A new company. Name was posted on a memo near the elevator. The outgoing director didn't say a word to the residents. She left before the end of the day. When someone asked what had happened, the nurse just said, "There was a change in leadership." It was the first time I heard the word leadership used in reference to something that belonged to me. Within a week, things started to change. Meals improved. Staff became more responsive. The activities board was updated. A handyman came in to fix broken faucets and squeaky doors that had been ignored for years. The mood of the place lifted, even if no one fully understood why. Only Celia and Tasha knew. I didn't tell the other residents. Most of them just assumed it was another change in management like so many they'd seen before. But I watched them closely. I saw Mrs. Walker smile more. I saw Elaine walking the halls without her cane, taking the long way to the dining room just because she could. These people weren't just waiting to die. They just needed someone to remind them they still mattered. One evening, I sat alone in my room, looking out the window at the same brick wall I'd stared at for months. This time, I wasn't thinking about escape. I was thinking about what I wanted to do next. "Do you want to leave?" Tasha had asked me that week. Yes. And no. The truth was, I could leave now. I could buy a house, a car, even move out of state. But I didn't want to disappear. I wanted closure. I wanted my voice back. And Amanda still had no idea what was coming. A week later, Amanda called. I was in the common room, playing checkers with Elaine, when the receptionist called out, "Miss Eleanor, your daughter is on the phone." I stood up slowly, brushing crumbs from my sweater. I hadn't spoken to Amanda in months. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I picked up the receiver behind the front desk. "Hello? Mom?" Her voice was sweet. Too sweet. "Hey, I just wanted to check in. How are you doing?" "I'm fine." "That's good. That's really good. Listen, I wanted to let you know that we've run into a little hiccup with the taxes from the house sale. Brian thinks we might need to dip into one of the accounts we set aside in your name. It's just temporary." I didn't say anything. "Mom? Did you hear me?" "I heard you." "Okay, great. So if you could just sign the form we're sending over." "I won't be signing anything." A pause. "What?" "I said I won't be signing anything. I don't need your accounts. I don't need your lawyer. And I don't need your permission." There was silence on the line. Long enough for me to hear her breathing. "Mom, what's going on?" "You'll find out soon." I hung up the phone and walked away. That night, I went to the nurse's station and asked to review my medical records. The new administrator, someone I'd helped hire personally, brought them to me without question. I made copies. I asked for all my prescriptions, medications, diagnoses, and assessments. I reviewed them line by line. There was nothing there that justified locking me away. That was the final piece I needed. It was time to move. Once I hung up the phone on Amanda, something shifted. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vindicated either. What I felt was clarity. I had spent months listening, watching, waiting. That call confirmed everything I already knew. Amanda never intended to bring me home. She hadn't just made a mistake. She had made a decision, and I was finally ready to respond. The next morning, I met with Tasha in a private office, the facility now designated for administrative use. Since the change in ownership, the space had been cleared out and repurposed to handle internal meetings and confidential paperwork. No one questioned why I was there anymore. "She called," I said to Tasha as soon as she sat down. "I assumed she would," she replied, already opening her folder. "I saw the power of attorney paperwork came through yesterday. Your daughter filed another financial request on your behalf. Without my permission?" "Correct, but it won't go through. We've revoked her access to all accounts. I've already sent a cease and desist to her lawyer." "Good. What do you want to do next?" "I want my house." Tasha didn't flinch. "We tracked down the new owner. They're a private investor who renovates properties and flips them. Right now, it's empty, in between tenants. Make them an offer." "We already did." "They accepted." I stared at her. "Just like that?" "They more than doubled their investment in less than a year. They were happy to walk away." I nodded slowly. I could picture the house exactly as I left it. The pale green curtains Amanda hated, the chipped tile in the kitchen, the squeaky hallway floorboards. I hadn't stepped foot inside since the day she took me to the nursing home. Now it was mine again. "And the car." Tasha looked down at her tablet. "It was sold to a dealer. I'm still tracking it. Do you want the same vehicle back?" "No. I want something better. I'll handle it." It was surreal how quiet all of it felt. No arguments, no begging, no explanations, just action. That same week, I signed a final set of documents that gave me full controlling interest over the facility. Celia came into my room that afternoon holding a small folder. "This came from the board," she said. "You're officially the owner." I opened the folder and looked at the letter inside. It wasn't dramatic, just a typed confirmation on letterhead with my name listed under sole proprietor. I had gone from invisible resident to legal owner in less than a month. "Celia," I said, "can you do something for me?" "Of course. I want to host a meeting, just the residents. I want to talk to them." She nodded. I'll schedule it for Friday afternoon. That Friday, I stood at the front of the main activity room. There were about 30 residents seated in folding chairs, some with walkers or wheelchairs. Others just curious. Most of them didn't know what was going on. They had seen changes, better food, new furniture, more staff, but no one had explained anything directly. I looked around the room at faces I'd eaten with, played cards with, sat next to during music hour. These people had lived their final chapters in silence, assuming their voices didn't matter anymore. "My name is Eleanor," I said. "Some of you know me already, some of you don't, but I live here just like you do. Or did." That caught their attention. "I've taken ownership of this facility. Quietly. A few weeks ago. Everything you've seen change. That was my doing. But I didn't do it alone, and I'm not doing it for recognition." Someone in the back whispered, "She owns this place?" I nodded. "Yes. I won the lottery a few months ago, and I decided I wouldn't use that money to disappear. I used it to take back control of my life." Elaine clapped once, then again. Slowly, others followed. I raised my hand and the room quieted. We all ended up here for different reasons, but the one thing we have in common is that we were sent. We weren't asked. We were placed. And now I want to change that. I outlined my new plan for the facility, a revised policy that allowed residents to have a real voice in day-to-day life. I explained that I had hired an elder care advocate, that the new staff would be trained differently, that families who neglected or abandoned their relatives would no longer be allowed to dictate how they were treated. "It's not just about comfort," I said. "It's about dignity." A few of the residents looked emotional. One woman in the front row started crying. Another asked me if it was too late to invite her niece to visit. "It's never too late," I said. After the meeting, I sat in my room and stared at my nightstand. Amanda's letter was still there. The one where she said she wouldn't be visiting, that she was moving on with her life. I picked it up and reread it again. Then I placed it back in the drawer and closed it. The next morning, Tasha called. "Me, I found your daughter's address in Georgia," she said. "Do you want it?" "Yes, but not to contact her. Not yet." "What for?" "I want to see the house she bought with my money." A week later, Tasha and I flew out for the day. I didn't bring luggage, just a small purse and a file folder. Amanda's new house was in a gated community. Tall hedges, circular driveways, identical luxury mailboxes. I sat in the back seat of the hired car and watched the front of her house from a distance. I saw her come out to get the mail. She looked exactly the same, not older, not thinner. Just like someone who believed she got away with something. She had no idea what was coming. "Drive," I said to the driver. Tasha didn't speak until we were halfway back to the airport. "You could have knocked on her door?" "She'll know eventually," I said. "But not from me. Not today." The next day, I contacted a boutique real estate agent and asked her to prepare a new listing. "I want a house," I said. "Not in a retirement village. Not in a senior community. A real house. With a garden. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere that feels like mine." She nodded. "I have a few places that might work." Within 10 days, I had made an offer on a 3-bedroom cottage with a wraparound porch and a small greenhouse. It closed in cash. The facility was now under the management of a team I had handpicked. Celia stayed on as head nurse. The kitchen was remodeled. The staff lounge was expanded. Residents were allowed personal decorations again. And I packed my bags. There were no dramatic goodbyes. Just hugs, quiet thank yous, and a few handwritten cards left on my bed. I stepped into the car that morning, not as someone being taken somewhere, but as someone going home. Moving into the new house was easier than I expected. The agent handled most of the details. Tasha coordinated the transfer of ownership. Celia helped me pack. I didn't bring much with me, just a few clothes, my photo albums, and the old biscuit tin where I kept my most important papers now. Everything else I left behind, either to the other residents or the new staff at the facility. The cottage was simple, but exactly what I wanted. 3 bedrooms, a porch with sturdy railings, a functional kitchen with enough space to cook real food again. The greenhouse was empty when I moved in, but I had plans for it. Tomatoes, maybe herbs. Something that felt productive. My first morning there, I woke up without a schedule. No one checked my blood pressure. No nurse knocked on my door. I made coffee. I sat by the window and listened to birds instead of hallway carts. I wasn't used to the quiet, but I didn't mind it. A few days later, Tasha called. "She knows," she said. "I didn't ask how Amanda found out." I knew eventually she would. She was too involved in my finances for too long not to notice the access had been revoked, the accounts frozen, the legal correspondence rerouted. And when she saw the ownership records change on the facility, she probably put the pieces together. "She's asking for a meeting," Tasha added. "She's insisting." "Where?" "She wants to come to your house." I paused. "She can come, but I want it on my terms." "I'll be there," Tasha said. "I'll make sure she doesn't pull anything." The visit was set for Saturday at 11 a.m. I didn't clean the house too much. I didn't decorate or try to make it warm. I wanted it to feel like mine, not like something she could claim part of. When the car pulled up, I stayed seated at the kitchen table. Tasha stood in the hallway, silent but alert. Amanda got out of the car slowly, holding a leather purse and wearing the kind of coat you only buy to impress people. She paused in front of the house, maybe expecting something different. Then she rang the bell. I opened the door. She smiled, like nothing had happened. "Mom," she said, stepping forward with a look that tried to pass for warmth. "You look good." "You can come in," I said. "But I'd prefer we keep this short." She walked inside and looked around. I watched her eyes move across the living room furniture, the bare bookshelf, the photos on the side table. None of them included her. She didn't say anything about it. "I wasn't sure if you'd be willing to see me," she said, sitting down at the table without being asked. "I wasn't," I replied. "But I figured eventually you'd come." Amanda adjusted her purse and looked toward Tasha. "Can we speak alone?" "No," I said. "Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of her." She looked annoyed but nodded. "I'll get to the point," she began. "I was surprised to find out about all these changes. I didn't know you were making decisions without me." "You mean decisions about my own life?" I asked. "I was trying to manage things for you," she said. "You were under stress. You weren't well." "I was never unwell," I said. "You just didn't want to deal with me anymore." She went quiet. "I did what I thought was best, Mom. You were getting older. You were forgetful." "No, Amanda, I was inconvenient. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just watched her as I spoke. You told the facility I couldn't care for myself. You sold my house. You emptied my accounts. And you left me there. Not for a few weeks. Not temporarily. You never came back." "That's not true," she said quickly. "You never called. You never checked in unless it had to do with money. You didn't even tell the kids. They never visited once." I had a lot going on. I leaned back in the chair. "I gave you everything I had. I paid off your debts. I helped you with your down payment. I bought your son a car. And when I finally needed you to just show up, you disappeared." Amanda's eyes started to well up, but I didn't soften. "Not this time." "I know you think I'm angry," I continued. "But I'm not. I'm clear. I see you for who you are now. I understand the decisions you made, and I want you to understand that there's no place for you in my life anymore." She blinked rapidly, trying to control her expression. "You don't mean that," she said. "I do." "And what about the inheritance?" she asked. "What about the family things? The will?" "There is no inheritance," I replied. "There's nothing for you. I've changed everything. The will, the beneficiaries, the accounts. Everything you thought you were entitled to is gone." Tasha placed a document on the table. "This is a certified letter confirming the termination of power of attorney and removal from all estate planning." Amanda didn't touch it. She just stared at me. "You're cutting me out," she said. "You already did that," I replied. "I'm just finalizing it." She stood up suddenly, You'll regret this. One day, when you're really alone, I stayed seated. I've been alone. I'm fine with it. She didn't say anything else. She walked to the door, opened it, and slammed it harder than she needed to. The car pulled out of the driveway within seconds. I sat there for a moment, then looked at Tasha. I need to change the locks, I said. I already scheduled it. The rest of the day passed, quietly. I watered the plants in the greenhouse. I wrote a few notes for the facility board. I made soup. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't reacting anymore. I was living. That night, I placed Amanda's old letter into the fireplace and lit a match. I didn't need anything from her anymore. Not a visit, not an apology, not closure. That had already happened. After Amanda left, I didn't hear from her again. No calls, no emails, no letters. Tasha confirmed that she tried to challenge some of the estate revisions through her attorney, but the documents were airtight. The trust was sealed. The house title was clean. The nursing home was protected under a separate holding entity, and the personal assets were no longer accessible. Everything had been removed from her reach. She tried to claw back what she thought was hers, but there was nothing left to take. That was 3 months ago. Since then, the house had become something steady. I started growing small herbs in the Kitia greenhouse, basil, mint, parsley. I didn't do it for show. I just wanted the smell of something fresh in the mornings. It gave me a reason to move, something to manage. My mornings now started with a walk out back. I'd clip a sprig or two, make tea, and sit on the porch. That was my routine. Celia visited once a week on her day off. She brought me groceries. Sometimes we sat and talked about the changes at the facility. It was running better than ever. Resident satisfaction was up. Complaints were down. A few of the women there had started a knitting circle and asked if I'd visit sometime. I think they just want to thank you, Celia said. I didn't need that. But I said I'd stop by soon. Not as a resident. As a guest? One afternoon, I got a letter from a law office in Georgia. Amanda's husband, Brian, had filed for divorce. The papers were public. I didn't read the full complaint, just the summary. Financial mismanagement. Disagreements over priorities. Something about strained communication. It didn't surprise me. Amanda was never built for loyalty. Not to people, not to commitments. She was built for gain. That was the part I missed when she was young. How early that pattern started. The way she learned to take without giving back. I blamed myself for years. Now I just accepted it. I kept the letter on my kitchen table for 2 days before throwing it out. Tasha called the following week. The facility's quarterly review is coming. Up, they're requesting you attend the board meeting. Do they need something? They want to name one of the wings after you. I didn't answer right away. I didn't do this for my name on a wall. I know, Tasha said. But they think it would mean something to the residents. I thought about it. Fine. But I want it plain. Just Eleanor's wing. No plaque, no picture, no biography. I'll make sure of it. 2 weeks later, I returned to the facility. I didn't announce the visit. I arrived during the late afternoon hours, when most residents were gathered for snacks and television. A few recognized me. Elaine was still there. She came over and hugged me without hesitation. You look good, she said. You too. They gave me a quick tour of the wing they wanted to rename. It had been updated. New floors, new paint. Better. Lighting. It didn't feel like a place where people went to be forgotten anymore. Before I left, I stood near the old reception desk and watched a new resident arrive with her daughter. The daughter was helping fill out paperwork. She looked tired but kind. The older woman seemed alert, nervous but calm. I watched the exchange for a moment. Then I walked out without saying anything. No one asked me to stay. That felt right. Back at home, I received an invitation from a local charity foundation. They had heard about the facility's turnaround. Someone nominated me for their annual Senior Leadership Award. I declined. I didn't need ceremonies. I didn't need awards. What I needed, I already had. The new house, my independence, my name, back. Amanda hadn't made another attempt to reach me. Tasha told me she was moving into an apartment in a nearby city. She had lost her job shortly after the divorce was filed. Apparently, some financial discrepancies at her workplace came to light. It wasn't criminal, but it was enough to get her let go. Tasha asked if I wanted to know where she ended up. I said no. Not because I was angry. I wasn't. I just didn't need to follow her story anymore. That part of my life was over. I had spent too many years adjusting my steps to match Amanda's. Now I was walking in my own direction. A few weeks later, a small envelope arrived. No return address, just my name written in a handwriting I knew well. I opened it at the kitchen counter. Mom, I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I didn't understand what I was doing. I thought I was helping. Now I see I wasn't. I hope you're okay. Amanda, I stood there for a minute, holding the paper in my hand. Then I folded it and placed it in the drawer under the sink with the warranties and appliance manuals. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I wasn't holding on to anger. I just didn't see a reason to let her back in. She chose distance. I chose finality. My life wasn't full of big endings or dramatic shifts. It was small routines, clean counters, fresh air, predictability, and control. A few of the neighbors started stopping by, mostly older women, some widows, some just retired. They asked if I ever hosted dinner. I didn't, but I started thinking maybe I could. Something simple. Soup, bread, company. One Friday night, I invited 2 of them over. We sat around the table, ate vegetable stew, and talked about real things. Nothing heavy, just age, space, family. One of them said her son hadn't called in 3 weeks. The other said her daughter kept checking in, only to ask for money. Understood both situations without needing more detail. When they left, I washed the dishes and went out to the greenhouse. I sat with the mint plant. I didn't water it. It didn't need anything that night. I just sat. And I thought about how many years I spent waiting for someone to remember me. Now I remembered myself.